Here's what you should know about your local housing market in this week's market update. We're seeing a very interesting market right now. I've been having so many conversations with my colleagues, all of us trying to get a good handle on what's really happening in the market, because the stats don't paint a perfect picture, because it's a very, very divided market right now, or at least it seems to be. How is it divided? Well, it seems anecdotally, based on myself and my colleagues, that homes under probably $1.2 million, $1.3 million are still going nuts. We're seeing crazy bidding wars. They're flying off the shelves, especially once you get under that million mark. I mean, these homes are just going for pretty high prices over the list price. The biggest frenzy that I'm seeing right now is probably in that 700,000 range, 800,000. I'm seeing those homes especially selling for way above the list price. However, once we get above that 1.2, 1.3 range, we're seeing really, really quiet activity. We're seeing homes priced very appropriately based on the comparable sales data that are just not moving, or not moving as quickly as we would expect them to be. 6 months ago, even once you got into those higher end homes, as long as we're keeping it under 2 million, they would still go pretty quickly, go in a weekend, still get those bidding wars. It seems as though not just myself, but many of my colleagues on those homes that are priced above $1.2 million, $1.3 million, just aren't getting the activity and the urgency from those buyers as we see in not lower, but lower than that price point. So it is very interesting to see this market shaping up. As we get into the stats, number one, the stats for the most part have lagging data, so we won't see that too much. But also, it's going to be interesting to see how they shape up in the stats, because more stats are looking at averages, and with some homes, the homes under 1.2, 1.3 selling for astronomically above list price values, and the homes of the higher end selling for probably in most cases under list price, and maybe more so than typical under list price. It's interesting to see how they're going to kind of cancel each other out. So I'm going to have to give you a lot more anecdotal information, because the data itself, the averages, may not paint a perfect picture of what's going on in the market. So let's look at the stats this week for Morristown, Chatham, Madison, Harding, Mars Plains, Mendham, Chester, Bernardsville, Basking Ridge, and Randolph. This past week, we saw 64 homes come on the market. That's a 28% decrease over the prior week. I would expect to see a decrease. We've got Memorial Day weekend. A lot of people maybe opted to not put their home on the market right before the holiday weekend. Most of these towns, those list numbers are down. However, Morristown and Township, we saw a substantial increase with 56 homes coming on the market this past week, 56% increase in the number of homes coming on the market this past week in Morristown and Township. So out of the homes in these towns that came on the market this past week, 41 of those were single-family houses, and 23 of them were condos or townhouses. The average list price of these homes, $1,192,000. Total inventory. Currently, in these towns, there are 279 homes actively on the market. That's just a mere 1% increase over the prior week. So an increase in inventory, but insignificant in terms of indicating any sort of a trend. Total homes sold. We saw 41 homes sell this past week in these towns. That's a 46% increase over the prior week. That's not surprising, as we've been seeing those under contract data creep up. This is a popular week to get those closings in before Memorial Day weekend. Average list price of these homes, $1,254,000. Average sale price, $1,319,000. So this past week, we saw homes sell for an average of 6.7% above list price. Every single town that we're looking at had homes sell above list price. Although do keep in mind, it's going to, like I said, it's going to be interesting to see how these stats shape up, because we're seeing some crazy numbers over list price. We're seeing some of the higher end homes sell below list price. But do keep in mind, sold data is lagging data. While it's the most complete data, it's usually about a month, more likely 2 months delayed on what the market is doing. So breaking it down individually, town by town for sold data, we've got Randolph where homes sold 2% above list price. Madison where homes sold 2.8% above list price. Basking Ridge where homes sold 5% above list price. Chester homes sold 5.3% above list price. Chatham homes sold 5.5% above list price. Morris Plains 9.7% above list price. What else? Bernardsville 11% above list price, and Mendham 12% above list price. So we're seeing some pretty wild numbers above list price. The big question is going to be, do these sustain? We're seeing some really wild, in the deals that I'm seeing for myself and my colleagues, we're seeing some pretty wild numbers above list price in those lower to mid-market homes, but we're seeing some lackluster showings in the higher end. Under contract this past week, we saw 43 homes go under contract this past week. That's a 20% decrease from the prior week. And the average list price of these homes was $1,032,000. And the average days on market was 21 days on market, which is actually a decrease in days on market by 12% over the prior week. So we got some really interesting stuff happening in the market. We're going to track it closely as we get into our summer months. But in the meantime, I hope you have a phenomenal Memorial Day weekend. I hope we get some bit of decent weather. And I will catch you guys again next week.